Welcome to Confidently Visible. This is a podcast to help you move through visibility blocks such as fear, resistance, and overwhelm to put life-changing work out into the world and to grow your career or your business. I'm your host, Beck Sands. I am a visibility mentor, a certified life coach, and award-winning PR consultant, and I'm based in sunny Newcastle, Australia. Let me guide you to show up as your unique self, share your incredible work, and to grow your audience with more consistency, ease, and flow. Whether you're a consultant, an entrepreneur, a CEO, a coach, or a creative, this is the space to unlock your uniqueness, to grow your audience, to make a bigger impact, all while feeling good about being seen. The world needs to hear your message. Now let's get started. I am so excited to bring you this podcast episode with a wonderful fellow Beautiful You Coaching Academy certified coach, Jaci Rogash. Now, Jaci is a certified trauma transformation coach. She's an energy coach and a breathwork facilitator and speaker. Jaci works with women who have experienced trauma and have worked through that and have created a life that is good, but not great yet. So these women are sick of feeling stuck and they want to step into their fullest potential and bring their visions to life. Jaci grew up in country Victoria and is no stranger to trauma. So what we talk about today is some of the trauma that Jaci has experienced in her life, as well as how she has managed to move through that and create a thriving business and also to be visible in her business, and some of the tools that she's learned along the way that can hopefully support you as well. I absolutely loved this conversation all about trauma and visibility with Jaci, and I hope you get so much out of it as well. Let's get into the episode. Jaci, thank you so much for being on the show. I'm so excited for our conversation today.
Me too. Thank you for having me. It's always exciting.
Always exciting to chat. Okay, can you tell me a little bit about, just in a nutshell, your journey and the sort of the work that you do today?
Yeah, sure. Oh, my journey's been huge.
Yeah.
So in a nutshell, I would say I experienced a lot of trauma from the age of like 15 to 23. So quite condensed trauma. Like I had 4 or 5 different things happen in a short period of time that were really significant. But because of, I guess, the way that I was brought up and the people around me, I suppressed it and
Yeah.
became, that go-to high functioning, overachieving, people-pleasing person. I was also bullied throughout school, so I think that contributed to that as well. And so I grew up in country Victoria. I moved down to the city when I was 21, 22. I worked in recruitment for 3.5 years, 4 years. And, there it was that I hit the ground running and I was that go-to person, and I was, that external validation really fueled
Yeah.
me in my career. And then I joined the police force, which again, I loved, but I look back now and I thought the police force would be my forever, but I look back now and I was so detached. Like I was still the overachiever. I was still high functioning. I was excellent at my job, but there was like a whole layer of myself that no one saw. And I'd lived with cyclical depression from the age of 15, which also came with like suicidal tendencies and that kind of thing. There was a couple of attempted suicides in there as well. And when I left the police force, which wasn't entirely of my own choice, partly was, partly wasn't, I guess I hit rock bottom, but it's exactly what I needed to start healing and to actually figure out who I was, because the reality was, to everybody on the outside, I was one person, but I was really broken on the inside. And then so I started my healing journey. I still stayed in investigations, and I worked with Monash University for a while, and then I was studied coaching when I left the police force because I was trying to figure out like what am I going to do with my life because it had very much become my identity.
Mm.
And I studied coaching, and while I was working as well, I just started doing more coaching, and I just loved it. I've worked in the trauma space for 15 years and then add in my own trauma. It's kind of been something that I've lived with and lived in for a really, really long time. And then, yeah, my coaching business boomed during 2020 where everyone was stuck at home with their
Yeah.
thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah, and here I am today coaching and doing breath work and, yeah, mentoring, speaking, all kinds of things.
Amazing. And tell me about your healing journey. Like,
Mm.
what was like for anyone listening who might be in a dark place? Like, what did you do?
Yeah.
How did you sort of move through that?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where I read I read a lot of books and I listened to podcasts
Mm,
initially, like before I started my healing, I would say. And I'd like get that hit of motivation. I'd be like, yes, I'm good. And I'd, you know, be on the path to whatever it was that I was working towards. And then something would go wrong and I would just go crashing back to where I started. And like
mm,
my inner critic would get really loud and just, go through that whole cycle again.
mm,
And when I left the police force, as I said, like it was the darkest period of my life.
mm,
And it was one of those moments where I'm like, either something changes or I'm not going to be here for much longer. And it was
mm,
kind of like this silent commitment to myself of like, I wanted to create a life where I guess I turned my struggles and pains into a strength. And so I started seeing a psych and I tried, for about 10 years on and off to find a psych and just none of them clicked. Or whenever we got to the point where I'm like, I need to work through this, they just kind of didn't.
mm,
And then I met my psych, I call him my psych. And within
mm,
5 minutes, I was like, oh, this is the person for me. And it was messy, I would say.
mm,
Confronting a lifetime of pain. I remember in it, like within that first 5 minutes, I kind of gave her a really brief rundown of everything that had happened. And she just said, we need to get you okay right now. And then we're going to look at what's happened in the past and then figure out what you're going to do in the future. And that was the first time anyone had really shown any interest in A, helping me heal and B, what I was going to do. I felt very alone for a
mm.
lot of that.
Yep.
So I saw her. There was a lot of journaling involved in my healing journey, a lot of journaling.
Yep.
It's still a practice that I do almost daily.
Yep.
Um, I have two little kids, so daily routines are not very easy to come by.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was just allowing myself to feel. I'd shut myself down from my emotions and my experiences for so long. It was like I had so many dark secrets locked inside because I was so worried about what people would think.
Yeah.
And also, I'd never had this space where I felt comfortable to work through that before. So it was, yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of it's like, growing up, like a lot of it's like, particularly, I don't know, it's like this Australian thing. It's like, just, come on, mate, you'll be right. Like this kind of mentality.
Yeah. And I think, and I love my mum. I didn't tell
Yeah.
him. So I was, for reference, sexually assaulted when I was 15.
Yeah.
And I didn't tell anyone for 8 months.
Mm,
Was suicidal throughout that period. And my mum, I think she heard me tell someone on the phone, but I told her we're having an argument about the guy that I was dating, and I just ended up
mm,
screaming it at her. Not an ideal way to to disclose. And then the next day, we kind of sat down, and she said, "You need to go to the police," and I said, "No." She's like, "You need to tell your father," and I said, "No." I said, "You can do that if you want." And I think the day after she said, "Oh, I can't tell your dad." I went, "Okay." And we never spoke about it again. And it was
mm.
only in 2016 when I was going through that period. I'm like, I need to tell dad. She's like, "Oh, is this still a thing?" I kind of went, what? Like,
Is it still a thing? Yes.
yeah, yeah. It's
Never
kind
leaves
of
you. Yeah.
it's kind of defined the way that I've lived my life for the last 15 years.
Mm.
Like it was just wild to think that, and not that, I don't, she didn't do it out of malice or anything like that. It was just that that's, as you said, like it's this Aussie thing. It's like you just sweep it under the rug. It's like, well, you
Yeah.
just get on with that. Like you don't
You
worry
just
about
get on
that.
with it. Yeah.
Yeah. And if,
Yeah.
because I was so confident externally and I had my shit together and I was high functioning and, you know, to everybody else, have it had it all, whatever that even means.
Yeah.
Um, I just don't think anyone ever thought it was a problem. And mum and I had a running joke of whenever I was depressed, she'd be like, "Oh, is Eeyore?" She'd call me Eeyore. "Is Eeyore here?" I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, "Oh, ring me when Happy Jackie's back." And I kind of
So again,
laughed.
denial. Yeah.
Yeah, and I kind of probably, I don't know, just went, yeah, and because I didn't want to admit the level of depression that I had when I was in those lows. But yeah,
Yeah.
again, it's kind of like we're not, it's not, wasn't seen for what it actually was.
Mm. Because like and we were chatting about this before we got on air, but like it's kind of seen in our society as like a weakness, like almost like
Yeah.
mental health challenges. But I truly feel that everyone, to vary in different levels and depending on what they've gone through, but everyone experiences mental health stuff because we all have a brain. Like, do you know
And
what I
life
mean?
is not
Like,
perfect.
life is not perfect. And I think if you put someone under enough, if you squeeze someone enough and put them under enough pressure, you're going to react to that
Of course.
mentally.
Yeah.
And yeah, and so yeah, I feel like our generation maybe is getting a bit more aware than definitely than parents' generation.
Yeah, I think we're getting better. It's the same as trauma, right?
Yeah.
Everybody experiences trauma,
Yes,
but it's, and I don't want to say there's like degrees of it, but there really is,
there is.
and
Absolutely.
so
Yeah.
there's traumas that I've had that I downplay as not really a thing because the other things that I've been through were so much worse.
Yeah.
But again, it is, especially when I was in the police force, it was like if anyone was emotional or took a mental health day or anything like that, it was just, you know, um, it was so frowned upon. And I
Mm,
don't, I've been out for quite a while now, but I don't know if it's any better. I think this is probably one of the biggest problems in the corporate world where
mm.
organizations know they have to have policies and procedures and they promote that. Like if you look at a job, nearly every job ad is like, we have like they now put their EAP or their Sonder or their mental health support or this and
Yeah.
that. But it's like, what is it beyond a tick box?
Yeah. It's a cultural thing. Like it's
Yeah.
an acknowledgement that everyone has challenges sometimes and that's okay. And it doesn't
Yeah.
mean that there's anything wrong with you.
Yeah.
It just means that you're human,
Yeah.
And yeah, it's so interesting. I feel like, yeah, we're all getting better. I don't know. And I think the
Yeah.
work that you do is brilliant because, we need to talk about this stuff.
Yeah.
Like we need to bring it out into the open because it's when it's pushed down and it's when it's kept in the dark and it's when it's kept quiet. That's when it becomes so much bigger and harsher and darker. Like, do you
Yeah.
agree?
Oh, absolutely. I
Yeah.
think of it and I kind of use this analogy. It's like a secret. So
Mm.
a secret can only hurt you while it's a secret.
Yeah.
Because if someone else tells it, it's like, oh, no, no, no. Whereas when you're open about it, you can see it. And it's like trauma manifests. So if you suppress it and shut it down and store it internally,
Yes.
people get sick. You store that trauma like energetically. And that's part of the reason why I started doing breath work as well for myself and then became a facilitator. And you
Yeah.
see it like people come in and they do it and they have these huge physical releases. They're like, I don't know what that's about. It's like, well, when was the last time you let yourself just let everything go? And
Yeah.
it causes so much more harm physically, mentally, emotionally, all of it. So we need to talk about it. And obviously, there's a time and a place, and you're not going to, tell everybody everything, but we're slowly getting better. But I would say that there's still a stigma around it for sure.
Definitely. Oh, absolutely. And like, where this is safe space. So we're like, we know we'll hold each other in this space and it's okay. But yeah, you're not going to go to someone you haven't met or like,
Yeah.
you've never met or like, yeah, like, and people are actively like, I want to listen to this episode because I'm interested in that. And maybe they're going through something as well. So
Yeah.
it's good. Like these kinds of forums are so, so important. Like I had, like for a little bit of context about my journey, I had some medical PTSD after
Mm.
like surgeries and lots of emergency visits. And then we had, and it was like all women's health stuff, but it was still happening over and over and over and over again. I couldn't take medication because we're on an IVF and fertility journey.
Mm.
There's so much pressure around it. And then it like became, it was like all the traumas that I'd had in childhood and throughout my life all came into that moment
Yeah.
and like pushed me to, because obviously I'd had some near death experiences, like having to go into emergency. And so that triggered every trauma I'd ever
Mm.
experienced and suppressed
Yeah.
as well and pushed down. And so similar in that way. And yeah, and so I ended up getting like panic attacks. And I was probably
Yeah.
like in a panic attack for about 4 months, like
Mm,
just
yeah.
ongoing night and day. And I was like, what the hell is wrong with me? I thought I was dying. Like, and I was in like a critical place with the women's health staff because I was like hemorrhaging constantly and didn't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, and so yeah, like, and then it was a final emergency visit. I was trying to do therapy, but she was like, you're still going through it, like as well. So it's
Mm,
kind of hard to
yeah.
work through trauma when you're like literally experiencing the trauma like
Yeah.
over and
Still
over again.
actively in it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so yeah, but I ended up like working with that. So I was almost like, I'm gonna get this solved before I can even like before I've even,
Yeah.
gone through
I'm going
it.
to heal this before it's done.
Yeah, exactly. That was like, that's just my personality in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Let's go. But yeah, I feel like I sort of had to then got to the critical point where I ended up having to have a surgery. And then
Mm,
after the surgery, I was like, okay, now I can start to heal. And then, yeah, and then so did some work with a counselor who, like, I've had a psychologist in the past who really, really supported me, particularly when I was going through stuff in corporate. But then, I had a counselor, found a counselor up here who specializes in like EMDR and
mm, yeah.
like release, so like somatic techniques to
Yeah.
actually physically release it from your body and like walk you through those trauma because it's always like something from childhood which stems, like it's formative. And if you
Yeah.
can tap into one specific thing, it can often unlock a lot.
Oh, and that like unbelievably 1,000%. And that's, I studied coaching and then I studied energy coaching and then
Mm,
I studied breath work.
mm.
So I'm certified in all of those modalities because
Yeah.
each of those served a purpose for me. And I was like, oh, like there's only so much we can uncap and tap into in our conscious mind. Like we need to be able to drop into the subconscious, into that liminal space in order to, as you said, and sometimes there's things from our childhood that we don't even think are traumatic, but
Mm.
the way that we either felt or the belief that we formed as a result of that then carries on. And, if you look at good girls, people pleasing, high achieve, all of that, it's like,
Yeah.
I,
100%. I had all of that. All of that.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, there's so much to work through. And I think I love that you've mentioned those modalities because I feel like there's so many different things. It's not like we can kind of go, okay, well, if you're experiencing that, here's the secret, just do this and then bam.
God, could you imagine?
I mean, I would take that pill.
Yeah, same. A pill
But
would be
yeah,
much easier than what it actually takes to heal.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. But it is in the journey that, that you can heal things. And I think it's yeah, so important.
I think it's the level of self-awareness that you
Mm,
gain from it. Like I think
mm,
about who I was when I, worked for someone else and who I am now. And I am such a better leader
mm,
now because of the level of self-awareness I have, but also the um, commitment to myself.
mm,
I feel like a lot of the time when we're in corporate or like, high-end jobs or even starting a
mm.
business, like we
Yeah,
abandon ourselves a lot of the time because we're the last thing on the priority list.
yeah,
And
yeah.
when you choose to heal, like there is nowhere to hide. And when you're self-aware, you unfortunately you can't hide from anything, which can be really annoying. But Also
Yeah,
love
no.
it.
And it's you're so right. Like I used to put myself last on everything, but like now I'm like, no, it's just not a question. Like I have to make sure that I'm okay. Like I have to do my exercise. I have to do the things for my mental health. And
Yeah.
if I'm feeling like over threshold, I need to come down from that. And I'm like, it's just a non-negotiable now.
Yeah.
Like I'm
Yeah.
just like, well, if that doesn't work in business because I couldn't do it because it was putting me over my threshold, then I'm like, it's just
Yeah.
whatever then doesn't
Well,
work.
you
Yeah.
know, I look back at my cyclical depression and it was, I would get depressed every time I got burnt out, which was every
Yeah.
like 6 to 8 months.
Yeah.
Because it's like
Yeah.
go, 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 crash.
Yeah.
Go, 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 crash. And
Yeah.
now it's like if I don't exercise for a couple of days, I'm a real moody bitch. Uh,
Me too.
and
Me
if I
too.
don't, yeah, if I don't journal for like a week,
Yeah.
I notice like I get really anxious. I start getting like a bit like,
Yeah.
oh, like what's going on? And I sometimes think back to that version of me. I'm like, how, like with such admiration, like, how did you actually do that?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Like without the tools, now that
Yeah.
they become so much a part of your life. Because I'm the same. I journal every single day.
Yeah.
Um, every night before bed, I'm journaling. And if I feel like if there's too much in my head and I'm like overthinking, then I'm like, I need to write this out.
Yeah.
Or I need to go for a walk or something. Like I know when my brain is like, on
Taking over.
overdrive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now mine's
Yeah.
exceptional at that. Mine
Yeah.
especially. My brain is exceptionally busy.
I get it. I get it. So let's talk about like visibility and trauma
Mm,
because I feel like this comes up a fair bit. It came up when we were doing like speakers training as well. And I think people like, because the thing is that when we put ourselves out there in front of people, it's almost like it's a vulnerability. It's a
hmm.
showing of our inner selves almost because everyone can see where you're at,
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
you know?
Yep. There's nowhere to hide.
And there's nowhere to hide. And I think this can stop people when they have, like trauma, self-doubt, beliefs about themselves that perhaps they're not good enough. I know this stuff all like I really felt all this stuff, particularly when I was
Mm,
starting my visibility journey, like earlier in my career. It
mm.
was like, I really had to confront myself as well as like to putting myself out there and then like going into business it was like on steroids again because it was like
Ooh,
my work.
isn't it?
Yeah, and
I
so
am the
let's talk
brand.
about that. Exactly, exactly. I mean, what's your experience been with that?
Oh, yeah. It's yeah, and and fear is normal. Like everybody experiences fear.
Yes.
Anytime we step out of our comfort zone, there's a level of fear. And for me, it was probably interesting because I was quite comfortable public speaking or presenting or all of that. But
Okay.
I was very good at compartmentalizing, I think, so
Okay.
I went to like I'd probably call it a life psychology camp when I was 15. And it was wonderful because it got me out of the suicidal state I was in, but it also taught me to suppress. And
Mm,
so when I needed to turn on, I could turn on. It was like, all right, I'm here, I'm showing up. Like, I could channel that person that I needed to be.
mm,
When I started my business, it's I remember the first time I shared my story because ultimately working as a trauma coach, people aren't going to come to you unless they can see themselves in you or understand that you're going to be able to or can see that you're going to be able to hold them.
mm,
And the first time I shared a post about me and the things that I'd been through, I remember posting it and I was still working, feeling
mm,
so sick that I put my phone in my bag for the whole day because I was so worried about what the comments were going to be. I was like,
mm.
I don't know if I'm allowed to swear, but it was like, this is the
Yeah,
most,
that's fine.
thanks.
I've no
Oh,
rules.
this is this is the most vulnerable thing I've ever done,
Yeah.
and social media can be a ride in itself. And
Yeah.
when I looked at, when I eventually looked at my phone, the comments and support and everything was just so overwhelmingly beautiful.
Yeah.
Um, and then I think there's also a fine line of, you know, sharing with purpose as
Mm,
opposed to just sharing because. And I think I feel like I can kind of read the people who are still in it by
mm,
the way that, by the way that they share certain things, if that makes sense.
mm.
But I think it's, when you've experienced trauma, it's being seen is such a thing. Like, as I said, I was bullied. So it was always like, I'm not good enough how I am. So I was very good at wearing masks and very good at adapting and being the gray man.
Mm.
And it's like, when you're not that, you open yourself up to, well, not everybody is going to like me.
Yeah,
And not everybody is going to agree with what I say. And not everybody's going to resonate. And not everyone's going to want to talk to me.
yeah,
And that's petrifying,
yeah,
like
yeah,
petrifying. And there are still moments, I had a call this morning where I'm like, there are still moments that I worry that I overshare or say too much or say the wrong thing because I care about what these people are saying. But there's a difference now between who I care, whose opinion I care about, and whose I don't.
yeah. Yeah, I feel like I felt the same when I was very first building my personal brand. I was so worried about
Yeah.
like what everyone, in the corporate world would think of me and ironically like most people came to me and said, "Oh, even if they didn't engage with the content, they'd be like, "Oh, your content's so inspiring. I love your newsletter. I love this. I love that." And like it
Yeah.
was all positive feedback. Like I'm
Yeah.
sure there's people, absolutely, without a doubt, there's people that like don't like my work, don't like my content. It's like, fine, just unfollow. Like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Like it
And
really doesn't matter.
yeah, I kind of have that thing with LinkedIn at the moment. So I used to be on it a lot, and then I was
Yep.
off it completely, like while I
Yeah.
was in the police force, and then was on it what is it, Monash, but not really, and have recently started like back in there because I
Back on there.
realized that
Yeah.
there is such a need for people in corporate, especially women who have experienced trauma but don't know how to like work past that, like the self-doubt, the inner critic, the limiting beliefs, all of that stems from a trauma. And there's been moments where I'm like, oh, like I know there's going to be people that see this or that I've worked with that are just like, what are you doing on here? This is not the place for this.
Yeah.
Um, and like, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
It's like,
Exactly.
cool. Like,
Exactly.
yeah,
Just yeah, exactly. Like if someone's not resonating, that's fine. Like they don't need to be in the room with you. They don't
yeah.
need to be following you. They don't need to be engaging with your content. But often it's like triggering something in them that they need to look at. And
Oh,
so
for sure. For sure. And I think also, like,
yeah.
for your listeners, it's like if you have a real attachment to what people are going to think of you while you're posting online, that is an indication that there's something deeper.
Yeah.
When we need external validation or we're petrified of someone unfollowing us or disagreeing with us or whatever, there's a real sign that there's something else going on.
I couldn't agree with you more. I feel like yeah. I feel like now I've gotten to a point where I'm like, it's fine. But then at every new level it comes back.
Oh, it's healing's never done. Like, you know,
No, no.
healing's
It's
never done. It's like it's the same shit, but it looks a little bit different. It's the same, every time, as you said, like every time you up level, every time you expand, it's the same things that just looks a little bit different.
yep. Comes back and you go, oh no, but I worked on this. Like I resolved this thing. And then it's like, nope, nope, here it is again.
Oh,
But I think the difference is you've got more tools to deal with it as
yeah,
as you
100%.
progress.
Yeah, and
So
I think you can
yeah,
see it. Like I can move through things really, really quickly now.
yeah,
Um, and like it's kind of a superpower, not in a way of like dismissing anything, but it's like I can see it, I can process it. Like I have my own, I guess, system,
yeah.
call it that I go through and I can move through it really quickly because it's like, oh, I see this. Why are you here? What's the reason for that? What do I need to let go of? And
Yeah.
it's like,
How do I need to express this? How do I need to release it from my
yeah,
body?
yeah.
Yeah, like, yeah, that acknowledging. Yeah.
Acknowledging is always number one.
Exactly. And I think that's the thing that before doing this work, it's almost like you'd feel shame about feeling it. And so you'd push it
100%.
down, and then that shame would just be layered. Like
Yeah.
it would just layer upon layer upon layer.
Yeah.
And often it resulted in more behaviors that would cause more shame, like, like, I don't know, drinking too much alcohol or like scrolling social media or disrespecting your body in some way,
Yeah, it's an avoidance strategy. It's like
Yeah,
I don't want to deal with this because this is uncomfortable, so I'm just going to do all these other things to avoid it.
exactly, exactly. And so, yeah, this is where I think, it's not like I never have a glass of wine or whatever, but I'm like, I know that I'm doing it for more purposefully and
Yeah.
not out of like shame or not
Yeah.
out of,
Yeah.
like not out
And I
of like the fact that I'm trying to cope with something.
Yeah. And like imagine in the corporate world when if you've got a big presentation and you turn around to your boss or someone and be like, I've got a real lot of self-doubt about this. Like, am I good enough to give this presentation? Like no one's ever going to say that.
No one's going to say
No
that
one's
ever.
ever going to say that. Not to their boss anyway. Like to me, maybe. To a coach, someone like that, sure.
Yeah.
But it's like
Yeah.
you don't admit that. So it's either like you show up or you avoid. So it's yeah, there's a real need for healing and there's a difference again between being nervous about something and really having that belief that you're not worthy or not good enough to do it.
Absolutely. I feel like everyone gets nervous before doing something. Yeah,
Everyone.
like you said, out of their comfort zone, the next level, that kind of thing. But yeah, if there is something deeper, like what do you think are the main signs? Like if there's something deeper, I think we touched on one
Mm.
before, which was that if you're feeling triggered by someone else's content, that's, a sign to look inwards.
Yeah.
Are there any other signs, do you think, that people go, oh, okay, maybe I do need to go and get that, like, get support with that?
Yeah. Oh, how long you got? It's
I feel like
like
everyone should just get
every,
like get support anyway.
everyone's different, but I think if you operate from autopilot is one where it's like it is whether it's drinking, whether it's social media, whether it's Netflix, whether it's
Yeah.
binge eating, even if like over exercising, anything that like
Yes.
where you're like, I'm just doing this and not thinking about it,
Overworking.
that's
It's another one.
overworking.
Done that.
Never resting is a
Yep.
huge one. Like if
Yep.
you aren't comfortable, and I learnt this because I was the one that never wanted to be alone, never shut up. Although I've just had a massive realization about my conversation earlier, so thank you. I never, yeah, I never wanted to be alone. I never shut up. It was
Yeah.
all like jibber jabber, but very surface level.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's like that exhausts me.
Yeah.
And so if someone can't be by themselves, or with themselves, the question is like, what's the discomfort?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's probably a really big one.
Yeah.
Um, Autopilot, the self-doubt, like we all have self-doubt, but if your inner critic is like driving the car and it's just a constant, that's also a sign. Because again, we can't get rid of our inner critic. It's
Mm.
always going to be there, but you can build a relationship with it where
Yeah.
it's not the driver.
Yeah.
Um, and obviously, like if you know that there's things that you're suppressing, or my biggest thing was there was a lot of things, but is there something that's happened to me that I don't ever want to talk about or I
Mm.
don't want people to know? And for me, it was sexual assault, there was bullying, there was
Mm.
stalking, there was
Mm.
family violence. Like I didn't tell anyone that when I was in the
Mm.
police force. I just used to say I'd never work in sex crimes,
Mm.
but no one knew it was because of me. So if there's something that's happened in your life that you're adamant that you never want to talk about, you probably need to talk about it.
You probably need to talk about it. Yeah, I love those signs. I think that's so important to understand. And that getting support's like not a form of weakness. That's a form of strength,
Oh,
actually.
can
Yeah.
we like, can we
Yeah.
get rid of that like bullshit narrative? Because it's
Yeah.
like, it takes so much courage
Yeah.
to be like, I want help with this.
Yeah.
I want support with this.
Yeah.
And also, you would know this, you
Yeah.
achieve so much more when you have support.
Yeah.
It's like, now that I'm, I guess in this world, it's like, why would you not?
Yeah.
It's just a given. But yeah, there is a lot of places that are like, oh, you're weak if you get support. Whereas now it's like, sometimes it's just nice to dump on someone.
You just need even just having a space where to talk about your own stuff for an hour, like if nothing
Yeah.
else. Like that's
Yeah.
so important because often like it's frowned, like even with friends and things like that, sometimes you kind of like, oh, I don't want to offload everything onto them
You
for
don't want to
like
be
an
a
hour.
burden.
You don't want to be a burden. And like often like if you've got your good friends that you can talk, to each other and you're on the same kind of level in
Yeah.
terms of like what you share and everything and your openness and everything, that's great. But like not everyone has those friendships depending on what
No.
stage they're at either. So
Yeah.
it is good to have someone who is a professional and particularly if you're in an acute kind of situation, like you need a professional who can actually
Yeah.
give you like has the tools to support you in the way that you need and not dismiss you or that kind of thing.
Yeah. You
Um,
need someone that can hold you.
that's right.
And that's the thing. And I think I actually did I don't know if it was I think it was a social media thing the other day around
Yeah.
like a lot of the reason that people don't talk about like what's going on for them or their problem. I don't want to call it a problem, but
Yeah.
their trauma is because when they've either tried to or when they've first tried to or they first have, they've been shut down or dismissed,
Yeah.
and it like that stings. It stings and it takes a lot to then let down those walls.
It does. And I think it's mainly because the person who's doing it didn't have the tools themselves to be
Of
able to have
course.
those conversations,
Yeah.
which you can understand from both. Yeah, like, but it's such a shame because it's like, that's where the professional comes in at least to
Yeah.
start with so that they can give you the tools to be able to face this stuff and to work through it and support you. Jackie, do you think that you need to have worked through all of your trauma and stuff before you can like be visible and build your personal brand and things like that?
I'm laughing only because I don't know whether whether we ever fully sort out all our shit. No, no, I
So
don't.
true.
No. I'm like, can we go to that place? Like, we just can we go to
Some
that place where
paradise oasis.
oh,
I don't
I
know,
know.
like
Yeah, I know. No, nah, not at all. I think also sometimes it can be a really beautiful way of supporting your healing journey. Being seen and being held in rooms and allowing yourself to be visible and taking up space. Because it can, as we said earlier, like it can be so petrifying, but
Mm,
it can also be really therapeutic. And I don't think we've ever, like we can be healed and there's always going to be stuff that comes up. But
mm,
no, I don't think. And I think that can be a really good excuse for people.
mm,
Oh, I'll do it when I'm ready, or I'm just, I'll do it when this is done, or I'll do it when that's done, or, once this, and it's just delaying the inevitable, and the longer, as we said, like the longer you hang on to that, the kind of bigger that it becomes. But no, it's like, and I wasn't fully healed when I started studying coaching.
mm,
And there was a part of me that was like, who are you to do this?
mm,
Like what's your experience?
mm,
And even now, there's moments where, you know, I am a trauma expert through lived and professional experience. I don't have a degree. And so
mm.
there's some days where I'm like, oh, like, can I talk about this? Like, who am I to talk about this? But for me,
Yeah.
it's like taking up that space and claiming my knowledge and my skills and my strengths is like contributes to my healing and my growth.
And it's so important. Like, you have so much from experience, from the work that you do working with people that you add so much. It's kind of like this is a completely different example, but it's like learning from like I've in the past had money mentors who
Mm.
aren't actually like accountants or like financial advisors
Yeah.
or whatever, but that's not what they're like because anyone can teach you the technicality of something, but
Yeah.
it's not necessarily the technical bits that you need. It's like that someone who's been through something like comparable or similar or someone who's been where you've stood or someone who's worked through it and you need to learn from that person or like from
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
like
And I think
yeah.
nearly all of my clients are that. Like it's, none of us have the same story, but it's like, oh, you said this and this really resonated, or I've been through something similar and I know that you
Mm,
can hold me in that. And
mm,
it's really, yeah, finding someone that can hold you. But again, like I don't, there's always going to be stuff that comes up, unfortunately. Like, always.
There's always gonna, I so agree with you.
Life.
I mean, it's so funny even when we talk about it, like it's so obvious that like it's gonna be a lifetime journey of like
Yeah.
moving through everything. But it's like sometimes, yeah, we our minds go, oh no, I'm just gonna wait until, you know,
Yeah.
that
Uh,
time in the future.
Yeah. Well, that, and that just feeds the self-doubt, right?
Mm,
Where it's like, oh, I'll just wait, I'll just wait, I'll just wait. You kind of, I feel like every time we tell ourselves, I'll wait until I'm ready, or I'll wait until this time,
mm,
we are just like adding an extra little tick to that self-doubt. It's
mm,
like, oh yeah, yeah, you shouldn't do that. And like we're
mm.
really mean to ourselves. We can be really mean to ourselves. I can be really mean to myself.
So mean to ourselves. Yeah, me too. Oh, absolutely. I have to remind myself not to be mean to myself every single day,
Yeah.
many
Yeah.
times.
Yeah. And comparison is like, you know, comparison is a horrible thing.
Mm.
Like it's a real bitch, to be honest.
Yeah.
And we all have it, and it's a
Yep.
matter of whether we use that as a like something
For
that
good.
cripples us, or
Yeah.
something that's like, do you
Yeah.
know what? If they can do it, I can too.
Yeah. Yeah, like almost like holding it up as an example of something that you could achieve for yourself, because that's often
Yeah.
what it is. It's a mirror. Like if you're seeing something in someone else that's making you feel jealous, envious, you're comparing yourself, often it's like that's something that is unrealized in you that you
Mm.
can sort of look at and go, oh, maybe there's something about that I need to pursue and I need to look at for myself, you know? And if you can look at it in that way, it's actually a real positive, you know?
Yeah.
And like you can wish that person well and you can, you know, and often it's like our first reaction might be something negative, like, oh, that bitch, you know? But then it's like you can then choose to go, no, 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 this is just my trigger that's coming up and this is showing me something that's unrealized in myself. And then you can choose to have another reaction and you can go, I actually wish that person so well. Like, look at all the amazing things they've done.
Yeah.
Look at how incredible they've been able to do XYZ, you know, and then you can look at, so what does that show me that I need to look at for
Yeah.
myself? Like maybe that could be an inspiring story that maybe that shows me a path that I want to go down, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And you can do it. Like I love that you've mentioned the shadow work and the mirrors, because it's,
Yeah.
yeah. And if you have that feeling of like, if you're, we are talking before about like not
Yeah.
caring about what people online think. And if you're looking at someone and you're cringing, or you like, ugh, like
Yeah.
we have all had that. And it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, what's the shadow? What needs to be seen in you? And let that go. And
Yes.
maybe that's not how you want to present. So that can be a beautiful message there. And
Yeah.
sometimes when we compare ourselves to other people and they're like, oh, they've got what I want and I can never have that.
Yeah.
Instead of using it as something that to put yourself down, you use it as inspiration. It's like, well, if
Mm.
they can do it, why can't I?
Totally, because we other people as well, right? We go, oh, well, they've been able to do that because, you know, maybe they don't have as much responsibility. They have more time than I've got. Or they like, you know,
Yeah.
or they, you know, we just other them in some way.
Yeah.
And so that becomes like almost the excuse for not pursuing our own
Yeah.
stuff and looking at our own stuff. And I think that's where, yeah, that's kind of a good place to start. If you are like stopping yourself from being visible because you're comparing yourself with others, it's like use it as inspiration.
Yeah. Use it as inspiration, and to be really brutal, like stop being a victim. Because
Yeah.
I had victim mentality for quite a long time, and it can still
Yeah.
come up every now and again. I'll be like,
Yep.
oh, like, woe is me. And then I'm like, what are you
Yep.
doing? Like, you
Yep.
know, and it's just like, I know that that's one of my trauma responses. So it's
Yep.
like, all right, so whenever I feel whenever I notice that I'm in that victim mentality, it's working through that and being like, why is this happening? And ultimately, we have absolutely no idea what is going behind the scenes for in anybody else's life. So,
Exactly.
you know, but
I always
my,
just think everyone's going through something.
yeah,
Like
yeah. And I think
everyone's going through something.
I used to view life as a competition. Like I
Mm,
had to be better than everybody, or,
mm,
better than this person. And like I've always been very sporty, so that's where it comes from. But it was
mm,
so unhealthy. And now, rather than competition, it's collaboration. It's like, how can I be inspired by them? How can I work towards that? How can I have that? And Australia, again, very good at tall poppy syndrome. Someone like
mm.
succeeds, it's like, let's just chop them down. Like, why?
Mm,
You know?
mm,
So yeah, it's brutal. But I think in terms of being visible, it's like taking those steps, like taking the first step, a small step,
mm.
and just building on that. Because I never used to talk on stories on social media because, I'd be worried about bumbling and fumbling my words. And now it's like, well, you know, this is me first thing in the morning.
Oh, same. I was like, I didn't want to do live video for years. Like, I think it took me like 3 years to do a live video, um, of like
Yeah.
starting my business to when I did a first live video. It's like now, like, I look back at that and I'm like, oh my God, like, what was I so worried about? But yeah, I was worried
I know.
about bumbling through things and like whatever.
Yeah.
And often, like, these things build up in our minds so much, it's not even the reality of what's going to happen. It's just, we just
Yeah.
stress ourselves. Like, it's the overthinking mind that
Yeah.
just gives us all these scenarios. And then
And
it's
the
like, yeah,
and the perfectionist. It's like,
the
I'm going to do this for
perfectionist.
the first time and it must be perfect.
Yep.
No one ever does anything for the first time and it's perfect.
Nah, exactly. And it's that willingness to be able to be vulnerable and to be not perfect.
Yeah.
But thank you so much, Jackie. I feel like we could talk for like hours and hours and hours on this topic. I know that I definitely could, but I feel like we have gone over time, so I don't want to take too much of your time. So, thank you so much for this chat. I really hope this has supported people. I know that I have loved our conversation so much. Where can people find out more about you, and where can they go to find out more about working with you and all of your beautiful work?
Yeah. So I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram. I'm not really on Facebook anymore, so let's just not claim that. And it's just Jaci Rogash. Type in Jaci Rogash. No one has my name in the world, so that's a bonus.
Yeah. And that's
And
JACI.
JACI
ROGASH.
ROGASH.
ASH, yeah.
Yeah, and my website is jacirogash.com. It's
Yeah.
very basic, but yeah, would love to connect with anyone. And if any listeners have any questions or if there's something that comes up that they're like, oh, hang on, I'm curious about that, please always reach out.
Thank you so much. It has been so lovely chatting with you. Thanks for being on the show.
You're so welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Confidently Visible. I have loved being here with you today. I hope today's conversation inspired you to share your unique gifts with courage and to show up boldly and move through some of the visibility blocks that are holding you back. Now, if you loved this episode, I would love it if you could please leave a rating and review and share it with a friend who needs to hear this so that we can get this podcast into the ears of more listeners. If you're ready to become confidently visible for your career or your business, make sure that you head on over to becksands.com and sign up for my weekly newsletters where I share information, stories, and resources that I don't share anywhere else. Until next time, keep showing up as the amazing, unique you that the world needs.